Hi, welcome to another one-to-one thing. My name's Steve Wright. This is the weekly drop-in event for actually just I don't know, it's a promo, I guess, for the one-to-one thing podcast, which is a podcast I do weekly, basically just showcasing and highlighting the importance and the depth of communications, how we talk to each other in the workspace, in our personal relationships, and also with ourselves. So I have a variety of guests, which really is, for me, I think is a superpower. It's just that there is no, um, there's no, it's niched but not niched, I guess. People talk about sort of focusing on particular topics, but I think the overarching theme is that we find a means and a way to communicate. So I'm excited for that. I've got guests jumping in because they've got the link. That is great. Don, welcome. Good to see you.
Hey,
And
good to
Alex,
see you.
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yes. I don't know how we know each other. I've, I just saw you on Facebook with, with,
I
with,
don't know. I'm in so many groups.
with
I have
Amos.
no idea if it was HNC or if it was Bump or ENTV or
Yes, yeah, probably
okay,
the bumpy. Yes, that's
okay.
why I called you Alex. Although your title says Alexandra.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're
Okay,
literally on a call with some very dear friends of mine, including Amos and Laura and
very cool.
Yayoi, and
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
know Don knows
Awesome.
Yayoi because we've made that
hmm
introduction. Don, meet Alexandra.
Hi, Don.
Hi, good to meet you.
You
Where are
too.
you out of?
I'm in New Jersey.
New Jersey. I'm in
How
San
about you?
Antonio, Texas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Steve, where are you?
I am in what is kind of sunny today, Lancaster, the UK. I'm
Okay.
in I'm in the north of England,
So, what does it mean to
Lancashire.
be kind of sunny? Is that like partly sunny, partly cloudy?
Well, I say sunny because it's only sunny in brightness. It's not warm. It's not particularly warm right
Okay.
now, and we're notorious. We're probably one of the wettest cities in
hmm
the UK. We're on the northwest, so we get a lot of um,
Oh, there you go.
that westerly weather coming in.
hmm
But I say that, but it's the nicest place, and I love it here. Actually,
Nice.
it's
Nicest place in the world.
it is.
Because you
Uh,
live there.
yeah. Well, I have a castle. We have lakes. We have more lakes.
Yeah.
We have the Lake District, which is just north of us. Um,
Mm.
I'm not too far from the coast. I can walk to the coast. It's a long walk, but I can walk to the coast.
Nice.
Got
Mm.
canals, rivers, and it's a pretty place. It's a university town, so we've got keeps it young, keeps it dynamic. We've got
There
two
you
big
go.
universities here. Um, so all that to say, whenever you're finding yourself
Oh, yeah.
on this side of the pond, it's worthwhile. It's a worthwhile trip. You can get here from Manchester, you can get it from London. I'm doing my tourist thing here, but um, yeah, it's a nice part of the world. I lived in San Diego, lived in California for a long
Okay.
time, uh, over a decade and a half, nearly 15,
Mm.
16 years.
Mm.
So I have an affinity to that. That's another nice part of the world too, actually. But so
I've
introduce
never been
yourself,
up in
Alexandra.
that.
I don't know what you do in the world. How you? Oh, I do know. You're divorce after life after divorce. That's the
Yes,
so I did pay
that's the
attention.
one. So I'm sorry, Don. I don't mean to cut you off. Did you want to say something before we jumped in?
No, no, I was just looking at Google Maps, and I've never been in that part. I've been through London and some of the south part of the UK, but I've never been up into
Okay.
that area,
Yeah,
Lancaster, Lancaster, Manchester. I've
Lancaster.
been over into Ireland and from Dublin West, kind of that middle section.
That's pretty
Mm,
too.
So I'll have to come over and see Mr. Steve as we head up to Scotland. That would be cool.
there you go.
There you go.
Yeah, but
Good.
please introduce yourself.
Awesome. So I'm Alex Neal. I am a Thrive After Divorce coach
Oh, cool.
because I believe that um, it's more than just recovery, right? When you come out of a divorce, chances are, at least that was my experience, I had devoted so much time to my husband and his dreams and his business and his life, having learned that from my mother, that I came out and I was like, who am I and what do I want?
Mm.
And so basically, what I do is I help women with their post divorce journey in terms of really rediscovering who they are and who they want to be from here,
Mm.
right? Because
Mm.
it's as painful as a divorce is, I look at it as a gift. I would not be the person that I am today if not for my divorce. I would not be in the relationship that I'm in if not for my divorce. And so it's really finding the lessons in the gift and then saying, okay, what do I
Mhm.
want to do with this? How do I want to move forward? And creating a life that they love and that makes them feel happy, that makes them
Mhm.
feel fulfilled, but on their own terms, not having to fit in
Mhm.
anybody's box, not having to fit, to anybody's expectations, but really being able to
Mm.
take ownership of their lives and
Mm.
deciding this is how I want to live, this is who I want to be.
Mhm.
Mm.
Do you think happiness is overrated?
I think happiness is an inside job. I think if you
It's
are
an
not
inside
first
job.
happy with yourself, it's going to be very difficult for you to be happy with anybody else because you're going to be looking
Mhm.
for it puts a lot of responsibility on the other person to make you happy,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And then the
No,
happiness
it's.
is externally motivated. So
Mhm.
anything happens in that external world, it puts your own happiness at risk.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
No.
I, yeah, no, happiness is definitely not over. It's not easy,
No.
until you do the work.
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
but it's definitely not overrated.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that to be flippant by any means. I'm going to jump in, Steve. Sorry.
Yeah. Go for it.
I'm a career transition coach, and I'm
Ah,
with you. I think that too many of us we jump into a job because it
mhm,
pays well or because we can do it. We haven't really thought what we want to do,
yeah,
and we struggle. It's kind of like a marriage in some respects, right? We jump in thinking it's the right thing. There's
mhm,
something that excites us about it, but at some point we start to see that we're clashing, right? Our values are not the same, our culture is not the same, our interests are not the same. We're not treating each other right? We've got different interests, and we start separating. And I always hate to see the marriage separate, but I appreciate what
of
you just
course.
said, which is it's a gift, right? Because at
Mm.
some point, if it's not right, you need to step out. And I think
Mhm,
it's the same thing with a job, a career. It's at some point if you're not happy, the leadership isn't motivating you, the culture is not inspiring you, then it's time to go find something else.
Mm.
mm.
That's kind of where I was. I did 27 years in the U.S. Air Force, and at
Ooh,
some point,
my dad's my brother's was in the Air Force.
is that right? Awesome.
Hmm.
So at some point I was like, okay, I reached the top. I'm not going anywhere else. The jobs that I can get are not the ones that I want to do. So I stepped aside. And my two-star general was trying to convince me to stay. And I said, you're just not, anything you're giving me is not what I want to do. I want to go do something different.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. No, I
And
hear you,
after
and
9 years of Bill. So
yeah,
I appreciate what you're saying.
yeah, yeah. And it's funny because people often say, well, people divorce too easily, right? It's too easy to
Mhm.
get a divorce, and it's like, in one sense, I understand,
Mhm.
but it's not an easy decision to make.
Amen.
It's something that, just like leaving a
Mhm.
job. I worked
Mhm.
15 years in my first company, 15 years in my other company. Leaving my first company after 15 years was a torturous decision.
Mhm.
And I feel divorce is very much the same. I think people don't just pull the plug because they get into an argument and they're like, oh, this doesn't fit me anymore, right? It's more like argument after argument after argument and always the same things.
Mhm.
And those things never being fully addressed because of whatever underlying thoughts or beliefs
Mm.
or whatever. It's not a
Yeah.
thing that
Yeah.
happens
Yep.
like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
How long ago
Yeah,
were you divorced?
I was divorced in 2011.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. I'm a recent divorcee.
Okay.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm 22. So
Okay.
it's
Ooh, wow.
been, well, 22 we separated. I think the divorce came through, where are we now, 25? It came through actually last year, April.
Okay.
So, so yeah, and it's strange as you say that it's one of those titles I don't band around. It's those
Mm,
things that you know. So it's interesting, like you said, people think you divorce too easily or it's too quick too quick to divorce. It's no quicker than getting married in some respects, and but it takes more work. Takes it's more consideration to leave leave a marriage
mm,
um, than it is to even enter a marriage, if you like.
yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, it is. There's a lot of things that go on in terms of, like you said, having it's been an inside job.
Mhm.
The persona that you have as a spouse
Hmm.
that now
The
shift.
label. It's a
Yes.
heck of a label to
Mhm.
Yeah.
carry. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and like you said, if people's perceptions of happiness is out there, then you set yourself up for a lot of a lot more work, a lot more,
Mm,
I say trauma, but really
Mhm.
a lot more pain if you
Mhm.
don't realize that it's really coming from where you're at as opposed to things out there. 'Cause I still meet people
Mhm.
now who think I'm still married. So it's kind of it's still new. It's older, but it's still new enough where people will be like, oh, and I don't know, people don't know what to say, you know.
yeah. Yeah.
So
It's tough for people that come across because they may not be divorced themselves, and then it's like, ooh, well, was it a good thing? Was it not a good thing? How do
mm,
you then interact with the
Mhm.
person because you don't have the same experience, so it's hard to relate. Yeah, it's not. It's tough for everyone.
mm,
I mean, especially for
Mhm.
those who are going through it. But it
Mhm.
has far-reaching impact.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, and and
Yeah, my
I was going to just,
sorry.
I'll just say
Go
this, and then
ahead.
I'll let you jump in there. Like you mentioned it as well, Don. The lesson is in the gift. There's so many
Hmm.
things in our lives. I'm not exclusively divorced, but there's lots of things that come up in our lives that if we often don't take stock of it in enough to see the gift in the lesson. So, whatever people who are listening to this, whatever is your thing that you're going through,
Yeah.
taking stock of it, pausing long enough to
Mhm.
see the gift in that lesson. So,
And I'm gonna,
Mhm.
Don, if you don't mind, I'm gonna build on that real quick
Please
because I
jump
think
in.
it's the gift is there, but sometimes we can't see it because we haven't grieved, because we haven't
yeah.
taken the time to just digest and be angry and be frustrated and be sad and be all of these things. And you have to go through that before you can see the gift, because otherwise people might say it's flippant to say it's a gift, right? Because if you're caught up in the hurt and the pain, like, who the hell are you to tell me that this is a gift, right? And so you have to get through that phase to realize, okay, it is what it is. I can't change it anyways.
Mhm.
Now what? And this is when you can start to dive in and learn and do all these things. And that's when your
Mhm.
your capacity to see this as a gift grows.
Mhm. Amen.
Sorry, Don.
No, 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 don't apologize at
As you
all.
can
This is a
see,
rich
I'm like super
conversation.
passionate about this topic.
Well, this fits right into what I talk about, right? And I knew there was a reason I needed to jump on today. And I always love the conversations with Steve and meeting the different people. So 5 years ago this week, I started a nonprofit with an individual, and we had been working together for a year or two
Okay.
and a couple years, and things seemed to be working out well. So we said, we kind of came up with a concept, we tested it, it worked, we jumped in. Didn't have a partner agreement, didn't have processes in place, didn't have a lot of stuff. We said, we'll figure it out as we go. Well, guess what? After 3 years, we never figured it out. So come 3 years in, both of us were very frustrated with each other. And I didn't realize how much until he told me one day, he says, I'm seeking counseling based upon you constantly bugging me about not getting things done.
Wow.
And I said, well, you're committing to do these things to grow our organization. So I'm just asking your status on what you've committed to. He says, yeah, but you're bugging me. I don't want to do that. I said, okay, then don't commit to it. Right. We'll figure out another way. But, and then finally I realized I wasn't sleeping well. My heart rate was way up. I was very frustrated. I was waking up in the middle of the night, having bad dreams and stuff like that. And I said, you know what? I think I need to seek counseling. And then I said, if both of us are seeking counseling because of each other, it's probably time to walk away. And I thought, I don't want to walk away, right? You go through all this whole process because it's kind of like a marriage, right? I don't want to walk away. I want to keep this going. There's good parts of this, but I had no partner agreement. So therefore I had no method to force him out. And our third partner was actually his secretary treasurer for his business. So I was like, ooh, if I get her to vote on my half to kick him out, that's going to destroy that. I said, it's going to be easier just to walk away. And it was mentally challenging for a couple months. I can kind of see what you're talking about with the divorce, because it was hard to step away from something you created, hard to step away from something you loved, the impact we were having. But immediately my heart rate went down, my stress level went down, I started sleeping better. And I finally got into what I really wanted to do, and not be just bugging somebody about trying to work things through. And
Nobody wants to be somebody's police person, right?
Yeah.
So,
but in the military, we always talked about trust but verify. I'm going to trust that you're going to get this done, but I am going to verify it because we got to move it forward. I mean, think about the conversations Trump is having with people, right? If they're not moving things forward, he's hopefully in the back room, not on social media, having a conversation and saying, hey, we need to move this forward. I need you to get on board, or I'm going to go find somebody else. So, in business, you got to kind of do the same thing. You got to move things forward. I think of Steve Jobs and Apple. They talked about him being ruthless, but he had a vision and he wanted things to get done. And if you weren't going to be on his team driving something forward, he was going to move out to somebody else. So anyway, I'm not trying to justify but the point being is it was kind of like a divorce.
Yeah.
And I actually got on a podcast. They were talking about divorce, and I said, this wasn't an actual divorce, but it was.
But it was kind of. It was a dissolution, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
So, yeah.
So appreciate what you do.
The interesting thing in what you're saying, though, is that, oh, dang it, the thought just left my head. I'll come back to it if it comes back. I've been doing that a lot lately.
Yeah.
I was gonna. Don't apologize for that, because that happens to me. That's why I've always got a notepad here, because I've got to write something. So if I look down, it's usually because I'm writing something down.
Yeah.
But I like the trust but verify. I've got a lot of, obviously being in San Diego, a lot of people around me were military. So that's two-person authentication.
Oh, I remembered.
Go for it.
I got it. So because you were talking about, both with the marriage and the situation that you went through, talked about, the dreams and the goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you lose something like that, you don't just lose what happened, you lose what was going to happen. Mm-hmm. So you're grieving twice, right? You're grieving all of the things that you built together, but you're also grieving the things that you thought you were going to build together, and now you're not. Right? So it's kind of like a double whammy of, they get you coming and going kind of thing, because it's not the things that have happened, but it's also the things that are never going to happen. For me, I had to grieve not having children. and it just happened to be not in the cards for me.
Yeah.
And so, it's
Yeah.
it's complex.
It really is, and that's a great point. In terms of, because that's sometimes why you stay for you stay for the sunk cost fallacy, right? I spent this much time, I might as well just stay in, and that's not net that, like Don's example, leads to stress and burnout and all sorts of secondary effects, which don't justify the sunk cost, you know. And then there's part of me that says that, as you were sharing that, Don, was that there's identity tied up in the
Oh yeah.
relationship, whether it is in a spousal one or it's a business one. And once we have identity embroiled in something, it becomes harder to detangle, because it's a tearing of our own flesh. It's not just a matter of, A separating from B. If A is entwined with B, then when you separate, part of you gets caught up in that. And that's again part of the grieving process. You're losing a piece of yourself that was invested in the relationship at some stage. So yeah, it's important, like you said, though, to grieve. It's important to give it the space. And I didn't see, I couldn't see it took me a while to see through what was going on, and I have 2 adult children at the time, so that in itself made the transition a little less arduous in terms of our kids were older to sort of fend for themselves, and there wasn't this sort of household custody thing.
Yeah. It's interesting to hear you say that, though, because my parents divorced after 25 years of marriage. I was 21 when they got divorced, and it was tough. It was really tough, because I was like, well, have they been lying to me all this time? Like, is the whole life that I know nothing but a big fat, like, nothing burger? Like, and so it's never easy, no matter what.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I can empathize with that, because we were married 27 years, so
Okay.
our kids were both in their 20s, 20 and 26 at the time, I think. Yeah, 20 and 26. And I don't take that lightly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very different dynamic if they're preschoolers, toddlers, and so on. But even at that, even where they were, it was refreshing having adult to adult conversations with your children, as opposed to parent-child conversations with your children. So that, for me, was a revelation, and part of the blessing of them being older, to have an adult to adult conversation. And I don't take it lightly at all. And I still don't take it lightly that
for sure.
that they have a journey along with me and my ex with regards to the relationships and how they feel and what they're dealing with. But like it's interesting. It's the first time I've actually spoken really about it in any sort of context. And there are lots of, like I said, happiness being an inside job, really coming from happiness and joy being very distinct as well.
Agreed.
And being okay to be happy after the dissolution, without it reflecting on the happiness that you had in the marriage.
They're not mutually exclusive.
They're not at all, one iota. And I might share this with my ex, actually, so that she it's kind of bold of me, but yeah, it is not mutually it's not mutually exclusive. This the dissolution of our marriage is not a reflection
Mm.
on the state of our relationship and the joy and the happiness in raising family, in living different parts of the world, and being each other's soulmate takes. But like you said, it's a double whammy. You know, it's grieving what was and what could have been. So
And just going back to the kids, it wasn't until I went through my divorce and I was, let's say, more of an adult that I was like I appreciated and I understood why they went their separate ways. And I started to realize that they may be my parents, but they deserve to be happy just like everybody else. And if being together makes them miserable, who wants that?
Mm.
But that's a process, right? It took me a decade before I finally realized that.
yeah.
The kids just probably are not at the maturity level to be able to understand, because we start blaming ourselves, right? We're always seeking somebody to blame for things, so we start taking it in ourselves. And I did that when I was leaving the partnership. You know, what did I do wrong?
Mm.
How can I fix this? How can I do this better? You know, because you have that dream, like you said. I love the way you said it. There's this future dreams, right? Be it kids or vacation or retirement or, you know, whatever it is. And even when my daughter separated, they were not even engaged, but they had kind of grown to have the same friends. So now all of a sudden, you know, she was now seeing her friends and his friends, sometimes with him, sometimes without him. And she went through a lot of counseling, and she had to explain, this is okay. I like him. We're good friends. We just can't be together. Right. And that took a maturity level on her part. My second son went through a divorce, and I was just looking through the 5 stages of grief. And I think he's still stuck in the anger phase. He will not talk to his ex. He just despises her. And if we talk to her, because there's a granddaughter engaged, if we talk, he feels like that's betrayal. And it's like, you know, it's spun down into a very unproductive piece. And we're trying to stay out of the fray, but
yeah,
It's tough.
it's hard. So it's tough. So how do you get people? So when you talked about identity, it resonated with me for military. You know, we've gone through 20, 25, 30 years of a military career. We talk about when we leave the service, we lose our identity, right? It's been that rank. It's been the job title. It's been the responsibilities. It's been the focus, right? As people come out of the military, they're struggling with reestablishing identity. And you have the same thing when you're coming out of a divorce. How do you help people through that? And you can, both of you guys, but how do you help people find that identity again?
For me, and I'm going to jump in because I have a call in 2 minutes. So
yes,
I'm going to have
please.
to let you guys go.
Really
But
appreciate you.
for me, it's really about thinking back about what made them happy before getting, you know, because I know for me, all that I did, all that I loved, I was kind of swept aside because it was him first and it was, you know, our life together. So really getting back in touch with the things that make us happy and going out and trying things, because we're different people after the divorce than we were when we got married. We've had different experiences. We've lived a good part of our life. And you may find that, well, what I liked back then, I don't like today. So then you got to go and you have to explore. You have to have adventures. You have to try different things. Yeah. So, and you can't theorize your way through well, maybe I like this or maybe I like that. It's only by actually getting in the trenches and trying things out. And chances are there's a whole bunch of stuff that they are not going to like, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that they are going to like, right? So it's being able to identify what those things are and then bringing more of that in and building kind of your life around that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I love
sorry
that.
guys, I gotta
gotta
bail.
jump. Thank you
But
so
thank you.
much.
It was
Alex,
so nice to meet you.
this
I
has
am
been
so
great.
coming
And
back. This was fun.
you typify what the one-to-one thing is about, which is communication and those conversations that sometimes are not necessarily easy, but need to be had. And they happen in all sorts of spheres. So I really appreciate you joining us today. I mean, and we're here every week. So just if you
Thank
got
you
a
for
chance,
having me. This was
come-
fun. I will definitely come back.
Thanks
Good
for
to meet
being
you,
here.
Alex.
All right, you
take care.
too. You too, Don. Take care, Steve. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Paul, I'm sorry. I need to keep better tabs on on the chat feed here. Paul Deitch has made a point there. It's so important. It's so important not to give up what is not yours. Which I think that's interesting because you asked about how do you get your identity back. I guess there's a reclamation exercise there when things change around you that call for you to be different. How am I saying this in the right way? Yeah, if you take on a behavior and make it a habit, and it becomes an identity, then it's much more ingrained. We know that from sort of even like CBT, in terms of there are processes to get people through changing things that they do or habits that they have. And I think part of that journey in the change of identity, like Alex was saying, is I guess going back to a time of remembering who you were at your happiest, or who you were in your truest sense of self. And with a 25-year career in the military, or 25-year marriage, some of the identities naturally going to be ingrained in what you do. There's always a core to that self. Like your partnership, there was a part of you that knew there was a dissonance, there was something not quite in tuned. And I guess trusting that you can find your own North Star, you can find your own sense of self first, and then see what the difference is to something else that's around you, and not blame them. It's like Paul said, you give up what is not yours. And I guess the opposite to that would be to keep what is yours, and to remember what is yours, and to build on what is yours. And that's not necessarily selfish. It can be, people could argue that you're being selfish from the outside in, looking in, but in some respects it's filling your cup. If your cup isn't full, and you can't fill others.
There you go. Can't give what you do not have.
That's it. So I think there is an element of that selfish act being coming from a place of being selfless, but yeah, give up what is not yours. I like that. It's in terms of,
I love what Paul said there. Yeah.
In terms of it just being,
And he talked about figuring out what is worth it.
Yeah.
And I think that's, to me, it's almost part of the process of getting up to giving up what's not yours. Because is it worth staying in this? Is there value here? What am I really getting? What am I really giving? How are other people impacted? There's so much there. So that's a good conversation. Thanks.
This is great. Justin, how you doing? I had to mute you a little bit. I had to mute you because you got some background noise in there. So that's okay. I'll take you off mute, or take you off mute now. How you doing, buddy?
Good. Is it still bad?
No, that's good. That's good. I mean, it's just kind of, yeah. I don't know if yeah. You're good. You're good now.
All
How are
right. Sorry
you?
about that.
You got a backdrop and
Yeah.
the wrong shirt for video. You got that
Why
laugh.
is it? Oh, because
Because
it's noisy.
it's
Oh gosh. Okay. Hang
so
on.
good. No, don't change it.
It's all
I'm messing
good.
with you, bro.
No.
Now
It's-
he's stripping off his shirt. We don't want to see it.
That's right. That's right.
He's going to be the Incredible Hulk.
Oh wow. How about that, Steve? That was my Avenger persona.
There you go, the Hulk. That's your alter ego right there.
Yeah. There we go.
There we go. Yeah, that's a bit. Yeah, I think it just helps, especially with a backdrop, because
Yeah.
you don't have the
The noise.
the noise on there.
Yeah.
Good. I don't know how much of you heard. We had Alex. I forgot her last name.
She was exiting as I came in.
Oh, okay. It's funny because our paths crossed through some other groups, Facebook groups, and so on. And she jumped on because the first time I've actually met her, which is nice to have a new guest. But she's a how would you describe it, Donna? She's a divorce coach.
That's what I took as a divorce coach. Yeah.
Yeah, she helps women navigate the life post divorce, and so we had a great conversation about
Well, that was good.
just, I guess, the investment that you have in relationships and what happens at the dissolution of that relationship. In terms of what happens to you, what happens to the relationship, what happens to the investment. And Don had parallels with regards to a business partnership and even just career changes, shifting a career from decades in the military.
Yeah.
A lot of those things have parallels to grief, loss, sunk cost. There's a lot of other things going on there. So it really ties into conversations that the one-to-one thing is about. So
Yeah.
I've got to remember, Mr. Whiskey would be not happy if I don't plug
The one-to-one
podcast
thing
at
podcast.
least 6 times.
Yep.
And Paul's joining us remotely here. He's got to just put his note up here. Letting go is one of the most difficult things. My mentor said every decision you make is either life or death. If people don't let go of what's not serving them, they will give up what they truly want.
Yep. And that hardest part is, when you say yes to something, you've now pulled it into your to your life and your persona, and it's tough to let go. I tell people, be careful what you write on your resume, because as soon as you put it in your resume, you're not going to want to take it out. You're going to resist. And it's so hard when you're trying to target a resume, because you're looking at the job description over here and you have a resume and you're trying to say, well, yeah, that kind of fits that, so I'm going to leave it there. But then I look at it and say, I don't see any connection to this. And they start justifying it, and they start, and sometimes we can build that bullet out to where it really does fit. And sometimes it's like, I don't think that fits. I think you need to put something else in here. But they resist that, right? So anytime it goes back to the point where you even say something, right? Sometimes when you say something out loud, you start to believe it.
Yeah.
You say, I love this. Well, you may not really love it, but you've used the word love, and now you've almost made a verbal commitment out loud to yourself. It goes into your mind. And now you've convinced yourself it takes a while to convince yourself that that's not true. When I said that I love my nonprofit, it was hard to step away from that. But I knew the partner and I were driving each other crazy, and it was time to step away.
Yeah. I love that. You know what? That is powerful what you said about how we leave things on our resume. Because my mind went straight to sort of my own journey of pivoting, in terms of leaving. I used to work with Justin, man, and there's no, I could use the word, I love my work at Syverson. I love my
Yeah.
time at Syverson. And it felt like it was a serious loss to leave, you know.
I'll say, Steve, when you left our team, before you left the company, I shed tears before you left the team. I remember the call when we got the announcement and all of that. Like, I literally shed tears. And I probably did when you. I mean, I'm pretty sure I did. We had a call when you were leaving the company, and I'm pretty sure I shed tears then. But more specifically, I remember when you were leaving our team. I was just, as I would say, gutted, as they say in Britain. I mean, I felt that it was rough.
Wow. Oh, my phone is ringing, but I'll have to pause. I'll have to let it go to voicemail. It shouldn't ring, actually. Sorry, that's embarrassing.
Nah, it's good. You're fine.
Yeah, and thanks for sharing that, because it felt like that life and death thing that Paul was talking about. There's a serious sense of loss, and then sort of when you pivot to, I might have to call you up separately, Don, and talk and have you walk through my resume. No, not that I'm looking for a job, but what you said about how we leave things on that list, on that resume, that don't fit. And sometimes there's an exercise of recognizing things that no longer fit, and things that we're saying about stuff that is no longer true. It sets us up for failure. If you say you love something, do you really love it? And then that now becomes a dynamic for, well, I'm just going to hang on to it because I said so, right? And that could be positive in terms of an affirmation, but it could also be kind of restrictive in terms of you now holding on to something longer than you need to. I've got clothes that I need to get rid of. Right? I've got things I've got to stop saying. I've got clothes I've got to get rid of. I know you've got clothes to get rid of, Justin.
Oh yeah. Well, and it's freeing too, man. Like I went through that exercise. I have like 3 or 4 different categories of clothes, but I went through one of those categories and just regained so much room in my closet. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And it's just very freeing, very liberating.
Yeah. So Paul's busy. I wish Paul jump on, bro. Come say hi. But he's got a couple of notes in the chat there. If you got LinkedIn open at the same time, you can see the chats. But I'll follow them on screen here. Yeah. And
his comment is really good.
Yeah.
When you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And
that's true. That's true.
Do you really want to say no to that? Being a people pleaser, there's a lot of us. We say yes to things because a certain person we respect is asking us, right? Somebody comes up and says, "Hey, would you be involved in this?" You really don't want to, but you don't want to disappoint them, so you say yes. But that means that you can't do this.
Yeah.
And if that's important enough, then it creates that conflict inside of us, and it ends up they're going to have to drop one or the other. Right.
Yeah.
And it's usually that one that they really didn't want to do, that they just did it. And they go through this turmoil. And I was not engaged. I was co-director of a leadership program. And the person who jumped in as my co-director, she was very forward and she would push on people and then people would join because she pushed on them. And I was totally different. As I want you to do this because you want to do it, not because I'm bugging you to do it. Right. And I saw too many people who jumped in because of her pushing, struggled with it, and they backed away later, and it hurt the program. So now sometimes people just need that push. So it's hard to tell. Some people, they want to do it, they just need the push to do it, and they stay and they do great. So it's hard to figure that out, but create that environment where it's okay to say no.
Alex Hormozy, some guy that I follow on YouTube, he's fairly well famous. Yeah. He talks about just saying no if you don't want to do something, and don't give an excuse, don't give a reason. Just I tell them I don't want to do this, and either the relationship will suffer, and that's on them though. But like, will you help me move this weekend? I don't want to. And I mean, you have to take that with a grain of salt, because sometimes you have to like sacrifice yourself to, to be kind, to be loving, to maintain a relationship. But like, sometimes you just can't. You just like, not because you can't, but because you can't. You know what I'm saying? Like mentally, you just can't. I don't want to.
Yeah.
And just do it. Just say it. I don't
Yeah.
want to. He talks
I'm on a-
about that a lot.
I'm on a committee looking for visionaries of the year for the Leukemia Lymphoma Society Visionary of the Year campaign. And I shot a note out. We were at an event, and they challenged us all sitting at the table, pick up your phone and send a text out to 10 people that you think might just possibly. And probably 8 of them never said no, never said yes. They just didn't respond.
Yeah.
One came back and said, I don't think that would be something that's in my bailiwick. I respected that guy more than anybody who wouldn't respond.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you're afraid to disappoint me. And I almost want to put it in there. Don't be afraid to say no, but I don't want to encourage him to say no.
Right.
We're in a spot where we would rather not say no. We would rather never respond than say no.
A hard no is better than a ghost, right?
Yeah. You go to church and somebody says, well, let me pray about that.
Yeah.
Great. But then they use that as an excuse sometimes to never say no.
To just exit the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. So now I kind of say, okay, well, that'd be great. When can you pray about it? When do you think you can get back to me?
Yeah.
And you try to pin them down. And I'm okay with a no. You say that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with a no. I'm okay with a yes. This
Yeah.
is just something I think that might benefit you, might benefit the church. If it's in your wheelhouse, great. If it's not, don't be afraid to say no.
Yeah. Let your
Yeah.
yes be yes and your no be no.
Yeah.
It's a great song too.
Well, that's quite the sidestep from marriage and divorce.
Well, I think there's a whole all of this stuff comes full circle. Thanks Paul for your comment about reminding us of the skydiving, and you can't see sometimes when you're going through stuff, you can't see the photo, you can't see the picture because you're in the photo. You have a different perspective because you're in it, and that's important. And he says you don't know how invaluable a moment is until it becomes a memory.
Yeah, well, that
which
was
is
good.
an interesting point again, because how we store things may be very different to how it happened, and then how we feel when we retrieve it could be very different to how it happened and how we stored it. Because we're not computers. We don't have a perfect replica in storage to pull out, without any context of time passing. I read an old email. It's still exactly what was written when it was written. No context.
But you're in a different place.
That's the point.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything else is different except the thing that you pull up that is digital, right? So, and that's an artifact that hasn't changed over time. Let alone something that I experience, right? I mean, even just recounting leaving Syverson, right? That in the moment it happened, it's a very different emotion to how I recount it now. Hearing Justin share his take on that puts another spin on how I remember it. I'm gonna now store that memory again in a different place at a different time with a different context, and that just happens all the time in our nature. So bringing this round to conversations, because this is I always want to not plug, but in my mind remember that the One-to-One Thing podcast are conversations. I call it a podcast chat. It's low key, it's low friction by design, and it's an opportunity to share and engage. And those conversations need to happen in a place whereby you need to be okay to explore things, say yes and say no, and sort of show up and be yourself. And when we go out into the world and have to sort of, we don't want to disappoint, or we're seeking approval, or we're trying to, navigate a situation, then we all have to weigh it up. How much do you say yes begrudgingly to get it off the plate? Do you say yes because you don't think a no is an option? Which is difficult. That becomes toxic real fast. If the question if the question is rhetorical, if every request is rhetorical, it's an implied command rather than a request for help, right?
Right.
That becomes very difficult real fast.
Yeah.
But what is that? I got a note here. People often get no mixed up with no. Knowing versus saying no.
Sorry, I was on mute. I'm going to have to step away, Steve.
Yes, no, go for it.
I'm on a podcast in 10 minutes and I got to reboot my computer and just get ready, take a rest break. And
All right.
I really appreciate the conversation. This was really good. Justin, great to meet you, and look forward to seeing you again in the future.
Yeah, that's great. Great to have you drop in there, Don. Enjoy the rest of your day, man.
Thanks, you too. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
And thanks, Paul, as well. Good stuff.
Yeah, because people say no because they don't know, because of lack of clarity. That is important too.
I can be really guilty of that. Or feeling friction anyway. Maybe not a hard no, but like just feeling a ton of friction to get something done because I feel a lack of competency. And I see that in my kids too. Like I'll tell them to do something that I've, kind of achieved competency at, that I just need it done. And I'm like, hey, go do that. And they're like, I don't know how to do that. Like, well, just go do it. Like, just go you'll figure it out. Like, just go do it. But like, and I get frustrated in the moment, but I can see that that's what it is. It's like, they're telling me the reason they're telling me the reason they're saying no. It's like, I don't know how, but the frustration is like, well, you can learn it if you just try. But I've been guilty of that myself. And so like, I have more compassion there now. Where, like I said, if I don't know how to do something, I feel friction and I feel aversion to doing it. And so when my kids do the same thing, it's like not that surprising.
Yeah, and that's it. Yeah, that's interesting, because I can say no to myself in that scenario. I often say no to myself because I don't know, or because I have a lack of clarity, or sometimes it could be even just taking the first step, right? If I break it down small enough and go, I don't want to say no. I mustn't say no. I mean, there's things that I have to do that I really can't say no. I shouldn't say no to, or because I can, but I ought not to. If it's for my benefit, I should not say no to this. But I don't know. I have lack of clarity about taking the next step, and or completing the task. And maybe by breaking down, like you say to your kids, if someone says with a level of competency, you can at least take the step. It won't hurt you to start. The starting is part of the knowing, and the starting is part of getting clarity.
Yeah.
And then you won't need to say no in future or when you're asked, because you've now gained it. So
gained the competency. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I heard a quote from a preacher, I guess is the best way to describe this guy. But he said, God can't use a parked car, but if you'll get in motion, God can steer you, And I think that's true, that's true for ourselves really too. Like if you'll just get in motion, you can figure it out. Like that's what we're saying, right? If you'll just get in motion, action, man, I've heard so many people say action, just take action.
Yeah.
You'll figure out you'll figure out the navigation, just get in motion, and the rest will kind of click in place, right?
Yeah. 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 A nice car undriven is nothing.
Right.
No point having a nice car if you don't drive it. I mean, I know
Yeah.
people who own, I guess people who own exotic vehicles, I guess you're not owning a vehicle, you're not owning an exotic vehicle or a collector's vehicle for driving as much as for owning. And
Right.
you got a different approach to that thing, because it's not about its utility, it's
Right.
value or aesthetic. So I get that. But generally, if you got a car, the best use of a car is to be behind the wheel.
Just drive the ever living out of it.
Yeah. I know.
My car's approaching 100,000 miles, and I got several years left on the note. So like, I'm just gonna drive the ever living out of it.
and and I don't know if this is a segue or just a different topic. I had a not episode. I had a thought this morning. I was journaling, and I
Dalio.
thought, sorry,
Was it Dalio?
Dalio. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
It's just there. It reminds
Yeah.
me, keep the streak
Yeah.
going. I put something in there. Is it a good day? Check. And then I got a stream of consciousness in there today, which was on overwhelm, having lots of things. And I wonder if it's because I don't say no, or I want to say yes to things because they inform my life. I'm thinking more about my tattoo that I'm getting memento mori, memento vivere.
Yeah.
And there's an element that says most people's deathbed regrets are that they didn't do something. They may have said no to something that they should have said yes to, in terms of taking on that opportunity, that relationship, that business, that travel. There's something that there's more regrets for not doing something than there are regrets for doing it, even if you did it wrong or badly, or so. But then it creates, I feel it can create overwhelm. There's lots of things I do. There's lots of things I want to do. There's things I like to do, things I love to do. And there's only a finite amount of time to do it. But the capacity, if I've got the capacity, then I want to use it, because there's a part of me that says, I've got to remember that I'm going to die. And you don't want to die with your best stuff inside you if you have an opportunity to share it. So it is that tug, that push and pull that says, dude, you're doing too much. And then part of me says, hey, if you can do it, put it on,
Time, but it's like I said a few weeks ago, time is a resource, but if you don't use it, you lose it. I mean, got to use it. Got to use it. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, just interesting. Great conversations today. It's been we went down. Like I said, we had Alexandra when you joined when she was just leaving, but really insightful in terms of her work, in terms of the divorce transition, the dissolution. I mean, in a wider context, the dissolution of a relationship, whether that is in the context of work, career, spouse. I think there's a common theme that we touched on, which was the sense of loss, which manifests as grief. The loss of what was had and what was dreamed of. So
potential.
The potential, as well as the past. And then we brought in sort of how that shifts our identity. And no longer being something doesn't diminish the value of you being it when you were. Right. In that respect, so I don't regret any part of my marriage, which kind of seems strange because they go, well, why are you divorced? But that I'm saying that because I don't want it. I don't feel it as a. I don't need to diminish my past in order to move into my future.
Yeah.
And sometimes people will do that. They'll kind of go, oh, you know,
Yeah.
um, I don't need that as a stepping stone into what is available to me in my future. So
Oh, Mr. Whiskey would say something about getting you out on the street or something right there. The future, he'd be like,
walking the
yeah,
streets.
we're hitting the streets.
Well, Mr. Whiskey too. I mean, I guess. Well, with are we talk? Is it gossip when you actually chat on a live stream that he can watch?
I I'm not
We're not
talking
talking behind his
about
back.
him or behind. Yeah, it's not negative at all. It's just what he would say. I just know what he would say. I miss him being here.
Yes, yes. So,
I mean, strangely, I think about him pretty regularly. Like, there's a restaurant that I saw last night called Big Whiskey, and I'm like, man, I should snap that and take a picture and send it to him. Like, he would love that.
oh, that's so cool.
He's a special cat.
Yes, yeah. In your terminology, he's definitely a special cat. So yeah, I hope he gains weight and finds love real soon.
As do I.
as does he.
Yeah,
So
right.
that's very cool. So
I have a question.
what's up
I know.
what's going on with you? You got to jump. No, I've got a few minutes, but I just want to check in with. I love the backdrop. I love the backdrop. Believe in yourself.
Yeah. Well, that was my final quote when I was on the One-to-One Thing podcast with Steve Wright. Um, that was my final quote on there. So I thought, yeah, why not? Make that into a backdrop.
Yeah.
And I mean, I believe it, or I wouldn't have said it, right?
Mm.
I was gonna ask you. I watched your little live preview thing, which was cool. Appreciate
Mm.
that. Yeah, it published yesterday, I believe, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Just
Yeah.
as a reminder. Yeah.
You mentioned YouTube, so are these going on YouTube now, or?
Yeah, I do. I do have a stream. I do have a stream to YouTube. I am basically just working with an extra streaming channel within Restream.
Okay.
So it has to be public in order for it to stream live. But I might pull them as unlisted so that I can sort of collate where it's going and have a bit more of a channel
Yeah.
option there.
Yeah.
It's funny again. It's one of those things that someone says do this, and I want to say I don't want to say no, but I don't know how.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just got to start with what you've got, right? People ask me about the podcast now. It's 81 episodes, 82 episodes, and I mean, you listen to other shows out there, and they're on thousands or hundreds,
Yeah.
multiple hundreds
Yeah.
and stuff. So, but in my head, it's the gap in the gain. It's how far. It's a long way to go ahead of me, but I look back and I think of how far I've come. And
Yeah.
if I'd started today, it would be episode 1 today,
Yeah.
right? For your episode 1, it's going to come, right?
Maybe.
Your episode 1 day.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you'll sit down and go, man, I'm on episode 200 and before
Right.
you know it.
Yeah.
And part of getting past the first episode to the next episode is almost not caring where you drive the car, as long as you drive the car. You get
in
the
motion.
wheel.
Yeah.
You get in
Yeah.
motion. And I don't know how long I have to drive before I know where I'm going.
Mm.
So I say that as a metaphor for the things that, putting it on YouTube, having a channel for the thing it'll be for the one-to-one thing, for the videos with the podcast. Spotify allows you to do that now, where you
Yeah.
can literally watch or listen in the same platform on
App.
the phone,
Yeah.
which is nice, in the same app. So that's an opportunity to get content there, as well as I do want it on a channel, because I think there's other options, there's other benefits of having it in both places. and like I was saying to Don, you know, Don's the resume, the career master, and that part of that career change that people go through is that rebranding of themselves. You know, the how you show up in the world.
Yeah.
Um, and it doesn't have to be professional. It could be personal. In your case, you're showing up differently in the world, you know. And I call it out often because I see it, you know,
Yeah.
and it warms my heart, man. It's just like it's so, you know, I'm saying all that to say that all these transitions that we go through are worthy in some case, and sometimes you just got to start without it necessarily knowing where it's going to go or how it's going to
Yeah.
end up. You know, get behind the wheel and
Yeah.
like you say,
And drive.
yeah, drive and God can steer. God can steer
Yeah,
because
that's right.
he's got the sat nav.
Yeah.
he's he's got the GPS, man. God positioning
Yeah.
system.
Yeah. There you go. That's good. Did you just
So,
coin that? Is that
yeah,
yours?
yeah. You know,
Yeah.
I heard it somewhere before. So
Yeah.
I definitely it's not unique to me, but I did own it in terms of I think I shared it in a sermon in a lesson that I did at a church service
Yeah.
about cycling and things that you need to
Yeah.
have, and the GPS is important, and not global but God.
Yeah.
So it's very topical.
Yeah.
It's good. So pop.
I don't know if you can see this cut.
You put it in front of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me make your screen bigger. Oh, to switch
Oh.
you up there. Where are you at? You over here. There it is. All righty.
Yeah.
Put it in front of your shirt. Let me see. Put it. There you go.
Oh yeah. There.
Ah, promoted to pop.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. They had a grandparent shower for us the other day at our church.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
And so we came away with all kinds of stuff, baby
oh,
stuff. Yeah.
beautiful.
And cups and yeah.
So you're leaning into that. You're leaning into the identity.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Love it. He's like, it's amazing. Love it.
Oh wow.
Got to read to him the other day. You know, just got him. He's, you know, barely paying attention, of course. He's a baby.
Yeah.
He's half asleep. But I'm like, you know, doing all the things, reading to him and
Yeah.
singing to him. And yeah, it's fun.
Oh wow. Wow. That's
Yeah.
beautiful, man. That's beautiful. Wow. Yes. Yeah. Those are the things that you got to savor. You got to savor those. You got to savor those.
Oh, yeah.
Man. That
Yeah.
is awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm gonna let you go. I was gonna ask you about how work's going, but we can take that offline.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But just always a pleasure, man. Always a pleasure. I really appreciate you carving out the time and you know in
The time change got me.
Oh,
The time change got me.
has it changed already?
Yeah, it did. I turned up at 10:30 and nothing was happening. And so I went to LinkedIn to see about it and I was like, oh yeah, it's an hour later because we've sprung forward.
When do we
You haven't
change?
yet.
We don't change for a couple of weeks.
You've got
We
a
change
couple
at the end of
weeks
the
yet.
month.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. You know what? That's very good. I would have mentioned that in the reminder.
Yeah.
But
It's all good.
yes, that makes it super. Oh, it's later for you now.
Yeah. An hour. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, so okay, I'm joining a call at 1 p.m. Eastern, which is going to be 7 o'clock now. Right? Yeah, 6 hours different from us.
What time is it right now?
This is throwing me off now. It is.
Yeah,
It
I'm
is.
sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. It's 5:39 for me now.
Okay, so I'm 5 hours. Eastern would be probably 4.
Oh, you're closer in time. Yeah,
Yeah.
until we go, our clocks go spring forward. Our clocks go forward. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're closer now. You've gone forward before we have. Oh,
Mm.
so I'm missing it right now. Then it's going to happen. 1 o'clock Eastern is 5 o'clock my time. So let me.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, let me anyway, next week. So
Time
next
is
week we'll-
hard.
next week, yeah, next week we'll be out of sync again next week. So I'll put a I'll send a reminder out there that it's
Yeah, your
4.
little reminder was cool. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, it's Eastern. It's sorry, UTC. We're still on UTC.
Yeah.
We're not on British. We're
Yeah.
not on BST yet. So
Yeah.
we'll be all good. Justin, man, pleasure.
Yep.
God bless you.
Take care,
Regards
Steve.
to the family. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for
Cool.
watching, listening, checking the replay. Remember the one-to-one thing. Drop in. We're here every week. Just come and have a conversation, have a chat. All right. God bless you all.